Cecilia Nina Cavendish-Bentinck was born in 1862 into a well-to-do family of the British nobility. The daughter of a reverend descended from dukes and a lady of the rural gentry, she was raised under the Victorian values of faith, duty, and discretion. Throughout her life, she witnessed times of great change, from Edwardian England to the Great War, yet always retained the composure and sense of duty that defined her. In time, she would become the matriarch of the Bowes-Lyon line and grandmother of a future queen. Before continuing with this fascinating biography, we invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Without further ado, let us begin. Cecilia Nina was born on the 11th of September, 1862, in an elegant residence on Eaton Place, in the distinguished London district of Belgravia. She was the eldest daughter of the Reverend Charles William Cavendish-Bentinck and his second wife, Louisa Caroline Burnaby. On her father's side, she belonged to one of the kingdom's most illustrious families. Her grandfather was the son of William Cavendish-Bentinck, the third Duke of Portland, who had served as Prime Minister of Great Britain in the late 18th century. Her paternal grandmother, Anne Wellesley, was the daughter of the Marquis Wellesley, brother of the legendary Duke of Wellington, adding to the family's lineage a touch of distinction and military prestige. On her mother's side, Cecilia descended from the old rural aristocracy of Leicestershire, the Burnabys, owners of Baggrave Hall. These family alliances granted young Nina, as she was affectionately called at home, a noble lineage and connections to dukes, earls, and influential figures within the British Empire. In Victorian England, expectations for a lady of her standing were clear. She was to honour the family name through an advantageous marriage and maintain exemplary conduct within high society. However, her childhood was marked by loss. The Reverend Cavendish-Bentinck died in 1865, when Cecilia was only 3 years old. Her mother, widowed at an early age, remarried in 1870 to Colonel Henry Warren Scott. Little Cecilia and her two younger sisters, Anne Violet and Hyacinth, were raised under the care of their mother and stepfather in a comfortable yet relatively restrained environment. The family settled at Forbes House, a residence in Ham, Surrey, where Cecilia learned from an early age the virtues of modesty and resilience that her mother instilled with firm guidance. As was customary for an aristocratic child of the Victorian era, Cecilia was educated primarily at home. Daughters of the upper class did not attend public schools. They were instructed by governesses and private tutors in subjects suited to their destiny as future wives and ladies of society. From an early age, she took daily lessons in music and drawing, practiced embroidery, one of her lifelong pastimes, and learned the strict rules of etiquette governing behavior in her social circle. The Anglican faith occupied a central place in her upbringing. As the daughter of a clergyman, Cecilia grew up with a profound sense of religious duty. Morning prayers and Bible readings were part of her daily routine. That sincere piety would shape her adult character, described as devout and charitable. From her mother, she inherited a benevolent spirit. She would accompany Lady Louisa on visits to the sick within the parish and in local charitable work, absorbing the belief that rank entailed obligations as well as privileges. At the same time, refined manners were firmly instilled. Cecilia was taught to speak with discretion, maintain graceful poise, and show moderation in public. At 18, Cecilia Nina was ready to take the step that fulfilled the social expectations of every young woman of her position: marriage. Her chosen suitor was Lord Claude Bowes-Lyon, a Scottish aristocrat 7 years her senior, heir to the Earl of Strathmore and Kinghorne. The union, approved by both families, joined two lineages of long-established prestige. Claude, born in 1855, belonged to the venerable Lyon family, which had become Bowes-Lyon after an 18th century alliance. His ancestry traced back to earls predating the Tudor era. A soldier by training and an Eton graduate, he brought to the marriage the prestige of his courtesy title, Lord Glamis, borne by the heir to the earldom. Cecilia, for her part, contributed impeccable lineage and the strong connections of the Cavendish-Bentincks. The wedding took place on the 16th of July 1881 at St. Peter's Church, Petersham, Surrey. It was an intimate ceremony, though adorned with the pomp befitting the aristocracy. As a symbol of close family ties, the best man was none other than William Cavendish-Bentinck, 6th Duke of Portland and cousin of the bride, who toasted the newlyweds at the wedding banquet. After the ceremony, Cecilia was officially styled Lady Glamis, the courtesy title accorded to the wife of the heir to Strathmore. Through her marriage, she left behind the sheltered life of a daughter to assume her new role within the upper hierarchy of society. The newlyweds settled initially at St. Paul's, Waldenbury, a country mansion in Hertfordshire that Claude had inherited from his maternal grandmother. Contemporaries remembered Cecilia as a refined and sociable hostess, known for her warm manner and notable artistic gifts. She played the piano with great sensitivity and would often enliven family gatherings with classical pieces, turning each evening into a portrait of Victorian harmony and good taste. In 1904, after 23 years of marriage, a major turning point arrived in her life and social standing. That year, her father-in-law, Claude Bowes-Lyon, the 13th Earl of Strathmore and Kinghorne, passed away, and her husband inherited the title. From that moment, Cecilia, who until then had been known as Lady Glamis, became officially Countess of Strathmore and Kinghorne. She was 42 years old and in the full maturity required to assume the role of a lady of high rank. As Countess Consort, she shared with her husband the management of vast estates, 2 great residences with their extensive lands, Glamis Castle, with more than 12,000 acres, and St. Paul's, Waldenbury, together with several smaller houses and a London townhouse. Managing such a patrimony demanded skill, discipline, and constant diplomacy, and Cecilia proved herself more than equal to the task. She introduced meticulous organization in each residence, supervising staff, finances, and improvements with a practical and exacting eye. Among her most lasting achievements was the Italian garden at Glamis, an elegant design of fountains and terraces inspired by Florence, which she harmoniously integrated into the Scottish landscape. Countess Cecilia became the mother of a large family. Between 1882 and 1902, she gave birth to 10 children, of whom 8 survived to adulthood. Her firstborn, Violet, was born in 1882, just 9 months after the wedding, a reflection of the early affection between husband and wife. Tragically, she died at the age of 11 from diphtheria in 1893. She was followed by Mary Frances, born in 1883, who later married Sidney Elphinston, the 16th Lord Elphinston, and became an active figure in Scottish public life. Next came the sons. Patrick, born in 1884, who inherited the title of Earl of Strathmore and managed the family estates. John, born in 1886, who served as an army officer and became the father of Anne Bowes-Lyon, future Princess of Denmark. Alexander, born in 1887, who died young from a brain tumor, and Fergus, born in 1889, who was killed in action during the First World War. The youngest of the sons, Michael, born in 1893, also served in the army and later took charge of the Glamis estate. Between them was Rose, born in 1890, who married the Earl of Granville and was known for her social work. And finally Elizabeth, the youngest daughter, born in 1900, who in 1923 married the Duke of York and became Queen Consort, mother of the future Queen Elizabeth II. The youngest child, David, born in 1902, led a quiet life as a country gentleman. Cecilia devoted herself wholeheartedly to motherhood. Though she had nannies, maids, and tutors, she took an active role in her children's upbringing, particularly that of her daughters. She encouraged family unity and modesty, discouraging any hint of arrogance despite their privileged circumstances. Elizabeth, the youngest daughter and future queen, would later recall her childhood as a happy and peaceful time in the countryside, running with her brother David through the gardens and woods of St. Paul's Waldenbury, far from the pomp of court life. The Bowes-Lyon family preferred that Hertfordshire residence as their main home, reserving Glamis for summer holidays. In that rural setting, Cecilia instilled in her children a love of nature and respect for those who worked for the family, fostering bonds of affection and loyalty that would last a lifetime. The Countess of Strathmore also took great care in arranging her children's marriages, weaving alliances with other noble families. Under her guidance, her daughters married into prominent branches of the aristocracy. Several of her sons likewise chose wives of aristocratic lineage, consolidating a network of kinship that extended throughout the British nobility. Cecilia watched over each child's position with prudence and dedication, never displaying favoritism. Even so, her favorite child was most likely Elizabeth, the penultimate of her 10 children. Born when her mother was 38, Elizabeth Angela Marguerite, affectionately known within the family as Buffy, grew up deeply attached to Cecilia. Cecilia perceived in the young Elizabeth a special charm, though she educated her with the same tenderness and discipline as the rest of her children. That combination of affection and rigor shaped in her a firm, compassionate character with a deep sense of duty, traits that would later distinguish Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon as a royal figure. The outbreak of the Great War in 1914 completely altered Cecilia's life and that of her family, as it did for the whole of the British aristocracy. Her sons Patrick, John, and Fergus, already officers in the Territorial Army, were mobilized to the front, and the youngest, Michael, volunteered as soon as he turned 21. For the Bowes-Lyons, as for so many noble families, service to the nation was an unquestionable duty. With a heavy heart, Cecilia bid farewell to her sons as they went off to war and decided to contribute from Glamis Castle. In September 1914, she transformed one of its wings into a convalescent hospital for wounded soldiers, offering its drawing rooms as recovery wards and the surrounding gardens as a place of rest. Her youngest daughter, Elizabeth, then a teenager, assisted her with simple tasks, preparing bandages, reading to the wounded, and organizing games to lift their spirits. Though already past 50, Cecilia worked tirelessly despite the anguish of having 4 sons at the front. In 1915, she received the most painful news. Her son Fergus, a captain in the Guards, had been killed at the Battle of Loos. He was 26, newly married, and expecting his first child. The blow was devastating, for in 1911 Cecilia had lost another son, Alexander, who had died from a brain tumor. Outwardly, Cecilia remained composed, yet, according to those who knew her, that night she wept silently in the castle chapel, clutching her prayer book. From then on, she poured even more of her energy into caring for the wounded as a way of honoring Fergus's memory. Constant exertion and accumulated sorrow began to affect her health. When the war ended, doctors discovered she was suffering from a uterine tumor, and in 1921 she underwent a hysterectomy. Recovery was slow, but her spirit remained unbroken. By May 1922, restored to health, she was once again on her feet, ready to take part in the great family joy soon to come. At the beginning of the 1920s, the Bowes-Lyon family drew closer to the inner circle of the British royal household through the destiny of Cecilia's youngest daughter. Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, then 22, captured the heart of Prince Albert, Duke of York, and second son of King George V. After a discreet courtship, the engagement was announced in January 1923. Now fully recovered, Cecilia took an active role in the preparations, guiding her daughter with advice on court life, modesty, strength, and unwavering support for her future husband. On the 26th of April 1923, Elizabeth walked down the aisle of Westminster Abbey on her father's arm, while her mother watched, moved, from a place of honor. The following years brought new joys. In 1926, her first granddaughter was born, Princess Elizabeth, the future Elizabeth II, for whom Cecilia served as godmother, In 1930, she was again honored with the baptism of her second granddaughter, Princess Margaret. She loved visiting them at Windsor or Piccadilly, strolling with little Lilibet through the gardens and teaching her the names of the flowers, bringing simple tenderness into the royal children's lives. Cecilia's bond with the monarchy became even more visible after the abdication of Edward VIII in 1936. Her son-in-law, the Duke of York, ascended the throne as George VI, and her daughter became the new queen consort. During the coronation of 1937, Cecilia occupied a seat of honor in Westminster Abbey. In the final years of her life, Cecilia enjoyed relative calm after so many trials and losses. With her sons and daughters now established and her descendants growing in number, she embraced with pride her role as grandmother and matriarch. She divided her time between London, Glamis, and St. Paul's Walden according to the seasons and family occasions. In 1936, she comforted her daughter Rose after her widowhood, repeating the maternal gesture she herself had once learnt from her own mother. In April 1938, Cecilia attended in London the wedding of her granddaughter Anne Bowes-Lyon to Viscount Thomas Anson. Although she was feeling unwell, she insisted on attending, elegantly dressed as always. During the reception, she suffered a heart attack and was taken to her residence at Cumberland Mansions, where she was cared for by her daughters Mary and Elizabeth. Despite a brief improvement, her heart could not endure. On 23rd of June 1938, the Countess of Strathmore passed away peacefully at the age of 75, surrounded by prayers and the affection of her family. Her death was met with genuine sorrow, both at court and among the ordinary people on her estates. The coffin was carried by train to Scotland, and hundreds of the inhabitants of Angus lined the route to pay their respects. The funeral took place on 27th June in the chapel at Glamis, attended by her children and grandchildren. Cecilia was laid to rest in the family vault of Glamis Castle in a simple oak coffin draped with the Strathmore banner. She had outlived 4 of her 10 children, yet left behind her a strong lineage and a legacy of service, modesty, and family devotion that would endure for generations. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this video. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts to share, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Don't forget to give us a like and share this video with your friends and family so that more people can discover the story of Cecilia Nina Cavendish-Bentinck. And if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our historical content. We also invite you to join our channel's membership community, where you'll find exclusive content, previews of upcoming videos, and special material for true lovers of history. See you in the next video.